my name is Alessandra Melis. I am an associate at the Green Finance Institute. I will have time during this presentation to tell you about the Green Finance Institute and the work that I do on the local climate bond campaign. I am assuming this will change slides. Yes. Okay. So first of all, I would like to start with what we mean by green finance. So as we all know, there are a number of terms that are used to label activities that are related to this two-way interaction between the environment and finance and investment. This term, green finance, is often used interchangeably with a number of other terms that you can see in this page, such as sustainable finance, ESG, green finance exactly, climate finance, and low carbon or net zero finance. To be fair, the net zero one is the one that I added because I might be mentioning the term net zero and finance related to reaching net zero, so I thought it was useful to add also this term, albeit maybe you wouldn't find it in very formal and official definitions. So, for example, when we start from the top, so sustainable finance is understood as finance to support the economic growth while reducing pressures on the environment and taking into consideration social and governance aspects. This means that when we talk about sustainable finance, we normally refer to those investments and those activities that fund investments that are taking into consideration not only the famous E, S, and G, but also economic growth. This is why when instead we talk about ESG, so environmental, social, and governance, we only refer to approaches that invest to protect the environment, but also the social and governance aspects. For example, in banking, we often refer to this term when we want to define the exposure of a bank or of a financial institution to those activities, and that would make also a consumer understand whether they want to interact with this financial institution. So if it is a bank that cares about acting responsibly, for example, we wouldn't be very attracted to open an account with a bank that only lends to heavy oil and gas, to tobacco companies and gambling companies, and ESG helps us to understand this. As I mentioned, today I will be mainly focusing on green finance, which is labeled in green, which is very useful. And this main focus of the green finance is to finance activities that are mainly related to the E of ESG, so to environmental efforts. The CBI, the Chartered Banker Institute, provides a definition that I'm going to read because I cannot really read there. With green finance, we identify any financial initiative, process, product, or service that is either designed to protect the natural environment or to manage how the environment impacts finance and investment. So as you can see, very much related to environmental issues. When instead the concern is only with preventing or responding to climate change, we often talk about climate finance. And this is also very much related to what we have just heard from the brilliant speaker just before me. So any investment that is used, for example, for the United Nations climate negotiations and the provision of aid on matters of climate change, adaptation and mitigation, etc. So anything that is really made to act and to prevent climate change. I thought it would be also useful to talk about what are the elements of a green finance strategy, and this is when we start talking about the Green Finance Institute. So about the GFI, the GFI is an independent organization that was funded in 2019 with seed funding from the UK government and the City of London Corporation, following a key policy recommendation from the UK Green Finance Task Force. It is the UK's principal interface between public and private aspects, and it is made, and its mission is to, of course, accelerate the transition to a clean and resilient and environmentally sustainable economy, but especially try to do so by removing the barriers to investment in green finance, and doing so by channeling capital at pace and scale towards real economy outcomes. It is important to talk about the green finance strategy here because the UK government green finance strategy actually talks about two main pillars, which are also two of the main pillars of the Green Finance Institute, and actually mentions the GFI as being at the nexus between these core pillars. We talk about financing green. When we say financing green, we talk about the core outcome to mobilize public and private capital towards financing environmental positive projects through the development of innovative, scalable financial instruments. So we really mean mobilizing finance, or be it private or public, for clean and resilient growth. When we instead talk about greening finance, we really mean greening the financial system. So it means recognizing not only the risks of the environment and of climate, but also the opportunities. And this is why it is relevant within financing within greening finance, to increase transparency through consistent and comparable disclosure, for example, or risk assessment frameworks. For example, there are within the greening finance core pillar, we can refer to guidances and other types of regulation that you might have heard of, for example, the task force on climate-related financial disclosures, or the green taxonomy that the GFI holds the secretariat of. I am going to deep dive into how the GFI works on these two core pillars. So when we talk about financing green, for example, we mentioned the fact that this is to mobilize finance, private and public, for clean and resilient growth. This is often done through a sectorial approach, and this is what the GFI does. The GFI builds coalitions or let's say projects and work streams that focus on specific sectors that are important for financing green. The one that I'm going to talk about, which is the one that I work in, is the Coalition for the Energy Efficiency of Buildings. So that, of course, talks about retrofitting our building stock in the UK. But we also have a strong coalition that focuses on decarbonizing road transport, so the transport sector, and also the one on nature recovery that, of course, we have heard of and we will hear about also later on. When we talk about greening finance, there are mainly two work streams of the GFI that focus on that. As I mentioned, the GFI holds the Secretariat for the UK Green Taxonomy, which is an extremely relevant topic, which tries to build a common framework to set the bar for investments that can be defined as environmentally sustainable. So we often talk about greenwashing, and green taxonomy exactly works to prevent that. But we also have the task force on natural-related financial disclosures. I mentioned the one on climate financial disclosure. This is the one solely referred to, that refers to nature. So a risk management and disclosure framework. So as I said, I'm going to double-click and deep dive on the Coalition for the Energy Efficiency of Buildings, which is the flagship coalition of the GFI. It's the first one that was built in 2019. I think it now holds more than 370 members, something like that. It is huge. And it was made to develop the market for financing a net zero carbon-built environment. I think what is relevant to say about the CEB, the Coalition for the Energy Efficiency of Building, or the Built Environment Program, as we call it, is that it really tries to identify barriers to investment and also define some tangible and effective solutions that can really address these barriers and to catalyze financial innovation. The Coalition for the Energy Efficiency of Buildings has announced in this summer, I think in August, a partnership with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. This collaboration is to establish a portfolio of innovative financial solutions, the ones that I just mentioned, to offer homeowners and landlords access to attractive sources of mainly private finance for retrofitting. This is the portfolio of 5 financial solutions that we are building and trying to develop within Greater Manchester Combined Authority. Demand aggregation financing is a way to aggregate demand, as the name says, so where consumers can that live together and close by in a neighbor or in a street and have similar requests for a retrofitting solution, for example, can benefit from economies of scale to get financing to implement those retrofitting solutions. We've got a green mortgage campaign that we will be launching that works with banks and financial institutions to really understand the barriers for more green mortgages to be built in the market. We've got green rental agreements, which admittedly is not a financial solution, but is an adjustment to rental agreements between tenants and landlords to be able to address the split incentive that often there is between tenants and landlords. There are local climate bonds, which I will be talking about because this is the one that I'm closest to, but please do feel free to ask questions about any other. If I don't know the answer, I will refer you to my colleagues. And then property link finance, which is a project that is known as PACE in the US that links the financing to the property for retrofitting. As I said, a double click on local climate bonds or community municipal investment as they are also known. We often refer to LCBs as a simple, lower cost, attractive and proven way for local authorities to finance net zero solutions. Here we are, net zero, so getting to zero emissions. We say that it's simple because it's a simple debt instrument. It's a form, as I said, of community municipal investment where councils can get funding through a crowdfunding way, through a crowdfunding platform, which is called Abundance Investment, and where the public, not only residents, but really anyone, even businesses, can invest as little as £5 to make the council raise this money to invest in their green projects. We say that it is lower cost because it is designed to price below the respective public works on board, which is the main way in which the councils borrow from the government. But it can also be more financially attractive if we think that residents, local investors, can even decide to give back their interest to the council, making in this way a very convenient way for councils to be funded for investment in green projects. It is attractive both for the council because, of course, it creates this very nice engagement between the local people and the local authority, but it is attractive also for the investors, so for the citizens, because there is a very low risk in the investment, and also because it can be tax effective because eligible for innovative financial ISA. It is proven. We have had 6 issuances so far in the United Kingdom. We had 2 pilot issuances in West Berkshire and in Warrington. And then we've had issuances in the London boroughs of Islington and Camden. Cotswold and Telford and Wrekin were the latest ones in mid-year this year. And we have more expected. We have got a pledge as part of our campaign that gives us the opportunity to have this nice pipeline because councils can sign this pledge showing commitment to the issuance. I think I mentioned our campaign. It was launched in 2021 by the Green Finance Institute and Abundance Investment, which is the ethical crowdfunding platform, a B Corp, that is at the moment the only platform that issues and manages these bonds. And it was launched to aim and raise awareness on this solution. This is the last slide where I wanted to present you an overview of the 6 issuances that we had in the UK. I won't go through each and every one of them, but please do feel free to ask me any question. I will stick around. I think what is interesting to see here is, first of all, a very nice pipeline through the years, and as I mentioned, also the fact that any council that is interested in issuing this and understand more can definitely speak to us. We're very happy to help and also potentially sign this very nice pledge that gives the chance to commit to this issuance. And as we can see, the use of funds has been varied. So really the sky is the limit as long as the project is identified as a green project. There can be investments in solar panels in council buildings. There have been investments in electric vehicle charging points, replacement of the fleet for collection of recycling with electric vehicles, and energy efficiency improvements in the council buildings, for example. Very happy to answer any question. I think, yeah, this is it. Thank you very much.